little vodka root beer, the old
Really?
grandpa special.
Really? That's what you went with?
I still smell of cigar smoke and bad decisions from last night. The tip bucket is alive and well down here in Southwest Florida. I don't smoke, but on Mondays and Tuesdays I will. Kind of part of the deal. Frosco's grinding, barefoot, dirty foot, good-hearted guy.
No doubt.
I mean, throwing down on a Monday like it was a New Year's gig or something. I see this bar, it was kind of popping. It was like afternoon, but I walk in there, a bunch of dirt bags drinking. I'm like, ooh, I like this spot. The first time, so I can tell you the first UFO story I have if you want. You guys about California?
Yeah.
Oh, California. Now I'm gonna take a sip. I'm gonna take a sip of the cocktail for this one.
You seem to be one of those guys that's always in the right place at the right time.
They do say that dolphins are, far more advanced than we give them credit for. If you're a blues person, I think this is the blues capital of the nation right now.
Now we're talking.
Hey, there we are.
What's up, dude?
Look, we got rocks and trees.
Two very different landscapes.
It is. It's like we're in different parts of the country or something.
You'd almost think so. How the hell are you?
Greatest day of my life.
Fuck yeah, man. That's what I like to hear.
Just melting down here. What do you got there? Is that your Yeti sponsorship?
Oh yeah, I probably need to blur that out, huh? No, it's not a Yeti, so we don't have to worry about it. I
got one of those.
I might have to bleep what I've just said though. What do you got there? Something fun and exciting?
Yeah, water.
Not bad.
This is the fun one right here.
All right.
Little vodka root beer, the old
Really?
grandpa special.
Really? That's what you went with?
I know. Well, I was gonna do OJ, but a little screwdriver, but it kind of upsets my tummy,
All right. Don't get me started on upset tummies, man.
Yeah, okay. I don't know where that's going.
That's all right. So what's going on? What's you're in Southwest Florida?
I'm in Southwest Florida. I still smell of cigar smoke and bad decisions from last night.
It's hard to wash off.
Yeah. So we did an open jam last night, so it was great. Probably had like 20 players come out, and a lot of new faces. And for a Tuesday night, it was like a Friday or Saturday, so it's cool. I know you remember the jam nights of Denver, back at Herbs and I suppose Quixotes,
Herbs, Coyotes, Local 46 had a good one there.
Local 46, was it Ziggy's or they had one, right. Bushwhackers, there's a lot of fun ones out there.
Yeah, that's true. That's always true. Man. So what part of Florida are you in now? I mean, other than the geographic region?
Yeah, I'm Southwest Florida, so I'm technically in Fort Myers.
Okay.
And Southwest Florida, I suppose, would be considered St. Pete, Tampa, down south to like Marco Island, Naples area.
Sure.
So you got Fort Myers, Sarasota, Punta Gorda, St. Pete, Tampa, Marco Island. It's pretty much the geographic big cities out here. So
are you kind of hitting them all, or are you more relegated to one or two venues or towns or what?
Yeah, no, we're playing. We're playing all over the place. So as far north as you can go. St. Pete's about 2 hours, so it's like the equivalent of doing a mountain gig out of Denver.
Sure.
But yeah, it's great. There's a lot of opportunity out here. It's one of the only markets I know of where you could play if you want like 3 gigs a day. So you can play morning gig if you want, afternoon, and then nighttime. So yeah. I have done the legendary triple, but it takes it out of you.
Speaking of those bad decisions and things hard to wash off, do you even make it to the third one? I mean,
yeah,
I would tend.
No, I make it, but do I remember it? Well, not always. But I mean, as you know, I'm a guitar
third
player.
Show.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm a guitar player, but I'll do like bass gigs sometimes.
Sure.
So I remember the last triple I did, I was on bass. And when you go from 6 strings, no offense to you bass players, when you go from 6 strings to 4, you know, it allows a lot more stage antics and dancing around and all that fun stuff. So, I was told I was very entertaining on the bass,
So
so.
hold on. You're saying as a bass player with your four strings, you should, by all means and accounts, have more of a stage presence because there's more ability to. So what's up? Yeah, again,
100%.
no offense to bassists, but
No, I love bass players.
I can only think of a couple that have like kind of a larger than life stage presence or personality. They tend
First one
to.
that comes to my mind. Wait, who do you think about? Tell me your first bass player you think of.
First one for me is with like a really solid, memorable stage presence has got to be Les Claypool.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Yes, absolutely. And great banter guy as well.
Oh yeah, good
I,
band
I
leader.
once saw him with is it Sean Lennon when they
Yeah.
did the Chocolate
The,
Factory thing?
did you see that at Red Rocks?
I was it Chocolate Factory? It was something he did with him, but I saw it at Mishawaka.
Okay.
And
That so yeah, that was like the Delirium band that they did. I
yeah,
think
there it is. That's
the
what it was.
Chocolate Factory was just standard Primus. Well, I don't know if you can
Y-
call it standard, but
Yeah, yeah. No, I would say that was like the best banter I've ever seen in my life. Like he and Sean were going back and forth. It was great. Um, anyway, yeah,
but
great player.
who were you gonna say as far as bass
I was
players?
gonna say just because of the cool bass flipping around your shoulder, Mr. Victor Wooten.
I mean, that's the other like obvious clear choice when it comes to, killer
Right.
bassists with the stage presence.
Now, somebody that we both know very well, Josh Fairman from Sun
Hmm.
Squabby,
Sure.
that hair right there, like that's all the presence you need. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're onto something with that.
Right.
Goofball.
Hell yeah, love that guy.
So, in playing around in Florida there, are you mostly playing with your band, Phenomenal Animal, or are you doing, you mentioned some open jams and that kind of thing, or how are you getting by?
Yeah, yeah. So, I am some weeks playing like 8 or 9 times a week, which is great. Um, every Monday and Tuesday, I host open jams at a couple different spots. One's called Danny's Lazy Days, which is like an old juke joint spot.
Hmm.
So, I mean, smoky bar, love it or hate it. But it's like, $4 beers and just good people that are attentive listeners. You go to open jams sometimes or even playing gigs. Like if you're going to play, let's just say a chain restaurant gig, people are there to
Chili's.
eat. Yeah. Yeah. They don't, let's call them dillies. Uh, it's like, dude, no one cares that you're playing. They're like,
Hmm.
I just want to eat my chicken
Primavera.
sandwich and yeah, yeah. Oh well, hold on a second. I know the kind of fancy chain restaurants you're going to, but they don't really care about the music, and that's really disheartening. I find as a musician, and I got props to the people that do. That's a job when you're playing in front of people that just they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Um, but no, this place is great. It's attentive listeners. Um, and I think what really shows the appreciation is the tip bucket. So the tip bucket is alive and well down here in Southwest Florida. You have a
Excellent.
lot of retirees and stuff, and if people really like you, they'll fill it up nicely, and you almost make more money in the tip bucket than you would on a guarantee gig, which is nice. Um, and then so I do Danny's on Mondays. And then I do this place called Cigar Bar Live, so another smoking bar, you know. And I don't smoke, but on Mondays and Tuesdays I will, kind of part of the deal. But
Sure.
I gotta tell singers, I'm like, because there's a lot of singers and drummers smoke, and I got to be like, listen, you got horn players next to you, like, don't like, can you just like not smoke for a few songs because they're already dying as it is and messing up their instruments. So but anyway, like I said, last night was packed. It was, I say in a small joint, it was like probably 60, 70 people, which like Herb size.
Hmm.
So when you have like a shotgun style bar, it was packed and a bunch of new players and, the scene is growing. We got new people moving here, which is fun. And, everyone did a pretty good job. And, so I do that. And then, yeah, Phenomenal Animal plays, every Thursday and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So, and with occasional Wednesday and Tuesday. So I think I'll be at 300 gigs this year, which is amazing. So it's really I feel very honored and blessed to be part of this. thing happening.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
awesome, man. Good for you.
yeah, 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 yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
I see it around the pool, it appears, and
I oh yeah, you got the little pool here,
I'm a
So
little jealous. Actually, I'm looking at a pool myself, but it's a cloudy day. I don't have the palm trees. I got the rock wall, and probably take a shower later. So
yeah,
not too
you
far
gotta
off.
you just get the air pump out. You know what I mean? You get a nice little outdoor pool for about $30 these days.
There you go. No, but so alive and well. Things are alive and well in Florida. But we were talking earlier that you've moved around a lot, so you've got a nice
Yeah,
a nice vantage point, nice viewpoint, whatever you might want to call it, of some of these different scenes. You've been out in California, you've been out in Puerto Rico.
yep,
Um, Work backwards, I guess. Where were you just before Florida? Was that Puerto Rico?
yeah. Puerto Rico, I think they say. Yeah, that no, so that was a lot of fun. The COVID thing hit, and I was in California at the time, and I was just starting to do studio work out there, which was great. And that all kind of got shut down, which
Hmm.
sucked. And then I moved to Florida for a brief period of time, and then it was like, okay, well, this is much better than California because people were able to get out and do stuff, and that's a whole nother conversation in itself. But I went to some jams that were still happening, and it was fun, but I had no desire to like join a band yet. I didn't want to put a lot of time and investment in to making a project, knowing that there were still issues happening all over the world.
Right.
So anyway, I got this opportunity to go to Puerto Rico, and I went down there, and it took me a while to actually get into the music scene. I appreciate the music, like so um, reggaeton, not a biggest fan. Okay, and I tried so many times. I know that beat real well. Boom, 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 boom. I mean, like, so people have these little side by sides, they call them. There's like these like little four-wheeler type things that are like basically like badass golf carts,
Hmm.
but they'll put like $70,000 sound systems in them, I swear. So it's like you are hearing this like till 4 in the morning every night, especially if you live in the city. Um, and that was cool, but also the Latin jazz scene there is top notch.
I
The
would
guy in it,
imagine.
yeah, I mean, this top notch players like this guy named Tito Puentes. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but he's the one who like wrote a lot of songs for Santana and such, right?
Tito Puente.
So yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
So
famous
amazing
timbale player.
percussionist. Yep, yep. So um
He once made
anyway,
an appearance in The Simpsons.
oh really? I didn't
Yeah, it's
know
true.
this.
Yeah,
That's cool, man. Good. Put that in the show notes.
there you
Um, but
go.
but it was great because I used to do a lot of exploring down there, and I'm walking down the street one day, and I see this bar. It was kind of popping. It was like afternoon, but I walk in there, a bunch of dirt bags drinking. I'm like, ooh, I like this spot. And people speaking English, people speaking Spanish, a couple tourists here. We got a one-armed server over here, and I'm looking around. There's tapestries everywhere, and I see a picture of Jerry Garcia on the wall,
Heard of
and
him?
I'm like, okay. I've lived here for a few months now. I have not seen any sort of reference to jam bands, so I end up going and asking. I was like, who owns this spot, right? So this guy comes out. He's a white dude, and he's probably late 30s. And he's like, "Hey, what's up, man? My name's Jimmy. I own this spot." And he's like, I was like, "Dude, cool, man." I go, "You're a jam band guy, huh?" And he goes, "Yeah." I go, "Who's your favorite jam band?" And he goes, "String Cheese Incident." I go, "I was just talking to Michael Travis today, you know?" And he's like, "No way." And he's like, "Do you play?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I play." He said, "What do you play?" I was like, "I play guitar and stuff." He goes, "Well, I created this jam night where every Sunday I have the best players on the island." And now keep in mind, on the island, you can get anywhere in 2.5 hours. So it's not too much of a hassle to come, make the hike.
Sure.
He's like, "You should come tomorrow." And I go, maybe I'll teach the guys something, just joking. Anyway, so I come back the next night. I walk down there from my place. It's about a mile. And I walk in, and Jimmy goes, "Hey, Carlos, this is the guy who's going to teach you something." And I was like, "Oh, man." So I'm already like coming in deficit, I felt like.
A
But
little, yeah.
there was a trumpet player, a bass player, guitar player, and conga player, right? And they're like, "Come on, come play." So we started playing, and they don't do songs really. It was all improv, which is like really a true jam is
Right.
um, there's no songs. Speaking of which, side little note here: the only other place that I know of this exists is in Las Vegas, a place called the Double Down. They'll do a jam. I think it goes from midnight to 4 a.m. But they say no covers, only jams, and if you're gonna sing, you got to make the lyrics up.
I love
Anyway,
it.
so for all you Las Vegas
I
folks up, that's you
absolutely
know,
love the whole concept there.
yeah.
I do.
So so anyway, we started jamming, and it's just like magic right away. So we had a great time, and those guys ended up becoming like some of my best friends, especially Carlos Rolone. No, Carlos played with Menudo and
Hmm.
Ricky Martin. So people have heard of those people, I'm sure. But he actually gifted me a black Telecaster that I play often, and I still play. I played it last night actually. Um, but anyway, became good friends, and then ended up kind of seeing the island and stuff. And it was great because we'd do these festivals, right, with like thousands of people, and they'd be like, "All right, we start something," and I'm like, "We're not even playing songs." So we did like open jams in front of like hundreds, thousands of people or whatever, and it was really cool. And just like the community there was great. I remember we got pulled over one night coming back from a gig, and like the cops rolled up to the car, and I was like, dealing with this shit. And they're like, "Carlos? Is that Carlos Rolone?" And I was like, "Yeah, Carlos, my hero. So he's like, "Oh, Carlos, go, you good, man?" I was like, "Oh man," like I didn't realize like the celebrity status of the people that I was hanging out with,
Hell
you know.
yeah.
So it's really a
You
cool experience, man.
you seem to be
Um,
one of those guys that's always in the right place at the right time, meeting the right people just by chance. And you were just telling me, well, not that you had just met him, but Frasco was down by you, huh? No,
yeah, so
you did meet him by
yeah, that's
chance earlier, like in Denver or something like that, but
yeah,
reunited, huh?
yeah. So when I was like, I want to say it's like 2011, 2000, yeah, probably 2011, 12, maybe.
That's like right when
Um,
I got out to Colorado myself.
yeah, they used to do this thing at Sancho's Broken Arrow. Um, Back when it was like, I think it was Dulcinea's before Pete's Monkey Bar. This little spot on Colfax,
Hmm.
and it was $1 to get in on Mondays. And there's a few funny stories out of this, man. But like,
Sure.
but I was like, I'd always when a band would show up, I'd be like, "Hey, can I play?" And they'd be like, "Sure." I just want to sit in a couple songs. And like the bouncer, Chris Weston, great guy. He'd always like, be like, "No, he's good. He's good." So, but I get in there, like hack around all these players that like did real well. And but I remember Frosco walked in, and I was like, "Hey, can I play?" And he's like, "Yeah, absolutely." So like, came in, played with him, and we became friends there. And that was, like I said, 2011, 2012. And side story out here, little thing here. There's like the drummer he had at the time. This guy named Neil Daniels. You can look him up. He's like an Instagram star now. He plays with Matchbox 20 now, but
No
he played
shit.
like Booker. He played like Booker T and some big pop artists and stuff. Like he's like one of the A-list drummers now,
Hmm.
and it was like crazy to see that. I'm sure Frasco's proud of him. I'm not sure what happened, um, with all that, but like Frasco's grinding, barefoot, dirty foot,
No
good-hearted
doubt.
guy.
No
You
doubt.
know, I mean, throwing down on a Monday like it was a New Year's gig or something. But so anyway, like we stay in touch over the years. He come through Denver. I come sit in when he started playing like Cervantes, other side and stuff. And then long story short, I moved to Puerto Rico, and the Cacuzas, who were part of a great band called Spoonfed Tribe, they play with Frosco. They're like the percussion section. They're like, "Hey, we're coming on. You're gonna be there. Like, we want to hang out, and we're coming with Frosco. He's got a week off vacation. He doesn't get those often, and we're taking him around the island and stuff. So we ended up hanging out for a couple days. We had a great time, and it was cool, man. Like he's a really good-hearted guy, and it's great to see someone like that who's really like that man's grinded,
No doubt
and
about it.
see his success now is like just it's so inspiring, really, you know. And but I mean, he definitely earned it and deserves it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, and he's like really just changed people's lives, and he's got a good podcast going and stuff like that. And um, anyway, so that's a little story there.
No, that's it. And those who work the hardest, it's the best when those types, it actually pays off for them. Because some guys grind and grind and grind their whole lives and might not make it, but you really appreciate it and like to see when it finally comes to fruition, when it pays off.
Yeah, they say luck is when opportunity meets preparation, and
There you go.
you know that man is definitely more than prepared for whatever's coming his way. But I think he's got who's that comedian Bert Kirsch? Let's forget his last name, but
That sounds familiar already, but I don't know who that.
Kirstein, funny guy. But he's like, he's doing these like I I dream to be a part of that community with like Bobby Lee and Theo Vaughn and stuff. He's like cool. He's like got the best of both worlds of music and comedians. It's like,
Yeah.
in my opinion, those are like my favorite people in the world. Musicians and comedians. They're like top my favorite people. You know what I mean?
It's a
So
bunch of goofballs that keep,
yeah.
that keep weird hours.
Yes, exactly.
So, okay, Florida, Puerto Rico, then you were out in California. Obviously, we've talked about Denver, Colorado a little bit, which is its own unique beast in the music community. It's certainly in like the jam space and that kind of thing. How did all those different, or from California? What's going on out in California? Were you finding,
Oh,
the scene to be
are you still there?
uh-oh, yeah. Can you hear me? Hello? Can you
Yeah,
hear
do we
me?
freeze out? Do we freeze out?
I got you. I
Okay,
got
I
you,
can't see
baby.
it. Where's your face? I can't see your face.
I don't know. What do you see?
I see blackness.
Oh,
Okay, there
that's
you are.
that's
It's like, oh, I blacked out too early. It looks like. Just kidding. Um, yeah. So
because, like I said to you, one thing I want to focus on with everybody that I speak with is their local music community, their town, their city, their region, and how things
okay.
different
So
from one to the next.
you asked about California.
Yeah.
Oh, California. Now that's a. I'm gonna take a sip. I'm gonna take a sip of the cocktail for this one. I got. I had. Oh man.
We'll get into the aliens in a little bit, but let's
I got.
keep it in music for a minute.
I
Or do
got
whatever
another
the
good
hell you
story
want. I
for
don't
you.
care.
I got. I got another good story for you here. Hold on. This one brings up some harsh feelings here. I got to hit my little binky here
You
one
do what
time.
you do, brother.
So California was interesting. I had a little bit of financial success doing some stock stuff, and I was dating a girl and in Denver at the time, and I needed to get out of there. It was a pretty rough situation, and
I
I was
think
like, you know what,
I think I
it's
probably
time
met
for
her at the old My High
yeah,
Spirits.
I think you have. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna change the scenery. And a buddy kept calling me from California. He's like, dude, you got to come to Newport Beach. You'll love it here. There's a lot of money and it's fun and you'll be able to play music. And I'm like, okay. So I was like, I made a decision, which I did with most of my moves. I'm like, I'm moving, and like within 2-3 weeks, I moved.
Right.
Um, anyway, so I went to California, load up the U-Haul. My dad helped me out, drove out with me. It was a nice little family trip there. Got to Newport Beach, got this house that was like literally like 100 yards from the ocean. And I was like, wow, like this is just incredible experience. So like started exploring Newport Beach. Well, Newport Beach, for all you music lovers out there, not a music city. However, like Trey Cool and Billy from Green Day live there, and Kevin Bacon. There's like a lot of famous celebrities live there. A lot of money, and I was like definitely not looking the part, or like I don't wear boat shoes. Hey, and boat shoes are cool, whatever. But I didn't have a yacht or like a sailboat or like a villa in Tahoe or whatever. But I still made good friends down there, and there was a couple good spots. There was a place called the Wayfair, was super cool, and the Wayfair, and then it's close to Anaheim. There's like good venues out there. But anyway, like the music scene was trash, right? I later found that like I should have been up the beach about 2 miles at Huntington Beach. Much better situation, much cooler people, more my speed anyway. I don't say like Newport Beach people are bad. There's definitely a little nose in the air there, you know.
Sure.
And I like I said, I get along with everybody, but it just wasn't for me. And people would say like, I think you're like in the wrong city. I'm like, really? Like I thought California people were nice. Anyway, so I realized that I wasn't in the music scene I needed to be. So I started looking up jams and stuff, and I found this one, a place called the Viper Room. The Viper Room is in on Hollywood Boulevard, one of the
Wait,
big venues,
the
right?
Viper Room?
Yep, yep.
Like the
And right
Hollywood
where
Vipers?
yeah, who's the guy who died?
They all
Fucking
died.
Phoenix. River Phoenix's brother like overdosed there. Like
No, River
I think
Phoenix
Johnny
did.
Depp. Yeah. There it is. And then
Johnny
oh, I'm
Depp
thinking
like
I'm
plays there
thinking
some shit.
yeah, Joaquin Phoenix. That's what I'm thinking of. But yeah,
Johnny
Johnny Depp. I
Cash.
think Johnny Cash. Yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix
Um.
was Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
There it
Yeah.
is.
I'm more of like I like Dewey Cox, Walk Hard a little more, to be
Me
honest.
too.
But that's I mean, I used that line last night.
Ah, we lost you right before the good line.
Oy. Yeah, it's too hot out, man.
I guess so.
94, I guess, is like my phone doesn't like zoom in 94 degrees. It's a good band name, 94 degrees.
Is it?
Yeah, it's like an almost boy band. It's more like
It's even hotter.
yeah,
Oh,
94
wait,
degrees
98
is like
degrees. I guess it's not quite as hot.
oh, that's right. There is a band called 90 Degrees.
Yeah, that's why it's such a bad name, Weeze.
Yeah. Oh shit. I
Uh-huh.
got a lot of these like Four Doors Down,
Nice.
Metallica 2.
Fourth eye
Um
working.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not good
Uh
at this.
yeah, I have so many band names. I got a lot of really good ones.
You write them
Um,
down? You have like
yeah, I got 'em written.
a
My favorite
draft?
ones is check this out. Okay. Onion Union, but you spell it Union, but you pronounce the first union as onion.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. That's good, Weeze.
Yeah. Man, I'll tell you what, like, so going through the trademark process of getting Phenomenal Animal trademark, that's been a whole interesting thing here. But, trying to find a band name that hasn't been taken is one of the biggest.
It's getting harder and harder, huh?
Yeah, you got to be like, how about pigeons playing ping pong? No one's got that.
Uh-huh. My last interview was with Greg, actually.
There we go. There
Yeah,
we
yeah.
go. So they got to figure it out. They're like, oh, no one has this one.
Right.
Um,
I do like
but like,
alliteration.
yeah, exactly. So,
No, tell me. Oh, go ahead. Go
so what,
ahead.
did you call me a goat head? What'd you
I
say?
called you a goat head. That's not a bad band name, actually.
Goat head. Yeah, I can see that's like like a hard rock metal band, probably.
Yeah, it's got a satanic vibe to it. So I don't know.
Yeah. With a name like Weezus, like I said, I no affiliation to Jesus, but I prefer to
You
remain
know.
in light.
Yeah, there you go. Tell me more about Phenomenal Animal though, because I've seen a couple videos online.
Well, hold on a second here. We
Okay.
gotta we gotta pick up on the LA story.
Oh, that's right. We picked up. You were about to tell me a line from Dewey Cox, actually.
Yeah, I was okay. So the line was, people were like, "How you doing, Weeze?" And I'm like, oh, "I'm just about to turn those bad feelings into good feelings."
That is a good one.
But so anyway, so I gotta tell the story because just to tell you, like, musicians curious about LA. Now, LA is very clicky, and there's people that've been there their whole lives and haven't made it, but have tried so hard, and maybe that was it. I don't know, but anyway, the jam on Mondays was absolutely killer. I mean, I went a few times before I actually played there, because when you play there, you have to sign up online, and then they research you, and then what they do is they pick the musicians you're going to play with, and
Okay.
then they pick the songs that you're going to play, and you get two songs. So I played with like, I can't remember their names this time, but like I think it was like the drummer for the Wallflowers and like some guy with a band called like Honey Puddle, I think. Like some you know pretty well-known bands. But anyway, so I finally got my in due to a recommendation of someone who played there all the time. I don't want to say his name because I don't want to get him in trouble with the people. But anyway, there's this guy named Eric Himmel who ran it, right? Oh, now this guy. Let me tell everyone about this guy. So anyway, so the songs I got were Foxy Lady
Okay.
and Even Flow. So, Hendrix and Pearl Jam. I was like, okay. So, I spent the whole week learning these songs, which is great. I play Foxy Lady all the time. especially for the foxy ladies. When you're playing on the beach, and like some chicks walking in their bikinis, it's like, yeah, here we go. But anyway, so we started the night.
Focus.
Well, yeah. Oh. So we start the night and with Foxy Lady. Well, chicks actually got on stage and started, like grinding on us and stuff. And I was like, this is very inappropriate, but I'll deal with it. I'll accept it. That's fine. And anyway, I
You're
don't
a
know.
professional.
So I don't know if that started the whole like thing, but anyway, I thought it went great. Now the fall, like later that night, Alice Cooper's band showed up and
Mhm.
played. I mean, like that's how cool it was. And like the house band was like guys from Power Man 5000. The thing about dropping names in LA is like, yeah.
Right.
That's you don't realize how many famous people there are until you start hanging around those scenes, I feel like. Um, anyway, so I didn't get invited back to play the next week. And I was like, dude, I feel like I did better than some of the other bands there. And people enjoyed it. And I got a lot of compliments, and which is love my positive affirmations from people. But anyway, so I kept trying to like talk to this host, Eric Hamill. And he's like ignoring me, like pretend like I'm right next to him. He's like I say, hey, what's up, man? He like walk away. I'm like, oh, it must be loud. You can't hear me. So anyway, so I go outside and I was like, hey, Eric. I go, dude, great jam. And he like looked at me, and then he like looked away. And I was like, oh, that doesn't really happen too much, Like I feel like I'm a pretty friendly, like approachable guy.
Right. You
And
are.
he's talking to a couple of his friends, and I was like, hey, I'm Mike Weeze, nice to meet you. And his friends are super cool. And I go to shake his hands, and he goes, I don't shake hands. And I was like, okay. So I was like, I gave him, and he knocked my rock at least, right? And I was like, yeah, man. I've been trying to play for a little bit. And he goes, maybe you should go down the street a little bit because we don't like playing with. And I was like, whoa. I was like floored. And his friend's jaws, like all his friends' jaws dropped. And I was like, dude, do we have a problem here? He goes, I don't think you should be playing here. And I was like, wow. I couldn't believe it. Like, younger me would have been violent about it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, we're in West Hollywood. It's arguably like, the gay capital of America.
Uh-huh.
And to even say, like, I just couldn't believe it. So,
There's
I
some of
spent some
that
time.
classic tolerance that you hear so much about.
Yeah. So, like, I was very upset. I went home, like, and I was kind of bummed out. I was like, damn, dude, like, I thought I did great. And I told the guy who invited me about it. And he's like, he said that to you? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, man, you know what it is? I go, what? He goes, do you know how many people have been picked up here from A-list artists? And I go, what? And he like rattle off like Lady Gaga, like other big, maybe I'm wrong on that, but a lot of big names, right? And he said he saw you as a threat and he doesn't want you around anymore because he's has less of a chance of getting picked up here. And I was like, damn, dude. But then COVID hit, and then I was like, okay, well, who cares anyway? But I'll never forget that. And it was like LA is a very competitive, angry industry. And when you find the good eggs there, who are probably Midwest folks mostly. But there's a couple of people that are real ruthless and just mean. And it left a sour taste in my mouth about LA. But
I
anyway,
believe
that's the
it.
story.
That's unfortunate because obviously music
It
is supposed to be
is.
in the spirit of camaraderie, of
Right. Right.
collaboration and working together and that kind of thing. I never really understand it when in a particular city, a scene, a region, whatever it might be. Even it's something as large as like LA, maybe it's venue to venue or something like that. But I just never understand that fierce competitiveness. I know we are all trying to get ahead and do our thing and that kind of
Right.
stuff, but whenever you do something at the expense of another person or try and take them down to boost yourself up, that's just not what it's all about at all.
Well,
Not even in the
I
music industry, but in life. You're not going to make it in life if that's who you are.
well, yeah, and I think about it. It's like and I bring that mentality to the jams that I host, and people are like, how many songs can I play? I go, well, you either get half a song or three, and they go, what do you mean half a song? Well, I go, if you're terrible, I'm gonna like pull the plug on. But I'll say, but come back next week and try again. And as our bass player, Reggie Sears for the jam night, and look him up. Reggie Sears is like world class, like probably one of the best musicians I know. Um, he's like, dude, it's a jam night. Who cares? Like this is a chance for people to get on stage, try it out. It's fucking scary
Yeah.
getting on stage for the first time and not knowing how people are going to receive it, you know. But like I said, if you're really good, like this one guy goes, how's my singing? I go, I said sing another one. I go, keep going, bro. And he's like, wow, thanks. That means a lot to me. So it's like building that confidence up to want to do it again, and that's so important. But I think about like why do you call me which is just like a terrible thing to call someone in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, maybe it's because of Rowdy Shadehouse and having 12-inch black dildos suction out of my guitar,
May not have
wearing
helped.
spandex.
Did, did he know that about you, or that you were in that band, or that kind of
He
thing?
might have. He might have researched me after that night and been like, "Oh, I don't like that," because I mean that band would do the craziest things, as you know. Um, but and like I said, people can do whatever they want. I know people are against it and whatever, but I found that band Rowdy Shadehouse to be a really a nice place for people to feel comfortable, especially like it was like 2015, 2013. People like a place they could feel comfortable being themselves, right? And I mean, instead of inflatable volleyballs or whatever you call them, beach balls,
There you
we'd have
go.
sex dolls. We'd have sex dolls instead,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like it was a fun time, a lot of smiling. But I mean, I see people that were snobby, like come to the front row, and then like I'd try to hit them in the face with the dildo, and they didn't like that. And it's like, well, come on, lighten up a little bit.
It's a place for people to come be comfortable and be themselves, but it's also a place for people to be uncomfortable watching other people be themselves.
Exactly, exactly. And by the way, I have always had excellent girlfriends, not into guys, but I do appreciate my gay friends and like I said, do whatever you want. Who cares? But anyway, side tangent there.
Yeah, for
Oh.
most people, I suppose, wouldn't know, but I did have the pleasure of one New Year's gig with you guys with Rowdy
Yes, you
Shadehouse,
did.
and
Yes, you
that
did.
was a fun time. It was an interesting time.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I had to borrow some of my female friends' clothes in order just to play the gig with you guys.
Yeah,
I
right.
think I tore her pants or something like that. But
Oh, classic.
definitely a fun band, a fun time. Are they still doing a thing? Do you have any
Uh,
contact with any of those guys?
a couple of the guys. So the drummer Perry, he now works with String Cheese Incident for quite some time. I also worked with Tenacious D. That's a touchy subject right now, but Perry's worked with Jonas Brothers. I got funny stories about him, and the Jonas Brothers breaking up. Due to I mean, I got so many funny stories, man. But and then
Your treasure
Ma-
trove.
Mason, the bass player, he is a luthier now. I think the sax player, Fab Foles, as they call him, I think he's like a professor now. And John Thursday, I'm not sure, we kind of parted ways, and I wish them the best. It was really a fun time in my life, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
playing on the James Brown, like y'all can look up videos online of that stuff, but it's like, whew, if I run for office, it better be in a very accepting
Just
environment, because
maybe
otherwise they'll be like,
don't run for
look at this
office.
guy. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
I
think you're
definitely
better
be an
off.
independent. I'd be an independent, but I don't want to get political. We talk about the aliens.
Well, I was just
And,
gonna say that's a perfect transition into aliens. What do you
yeah.
got? How many races are here on Earth currently? How many UFOs have you
Oh,
seen recently?
man, I gotta be careful what I say, I suppose. But no, I don't know. Well, everyone has opinions on the aliens, and I think I heard Santino say this. It's like, if you want to come into our country illegally, you should have to go through an American Ninja Warrior course. And if you can pass the course, then you can come to the country. You know,
Not the worst idea.
just kidding.
Not the
But no,
best.
I think everyone should have an opportunity. But anyway, um, aliens, yeah, space aliens is the fun topic, right?
Or underwater aliens.
Or
I
underwater
guess they're not
aliens.
technically aliens, but you know what I mean. Creatures nonetheless.
Well,
Advanced
they could be.
beings.
They do say that dolphins are, far more advanced than we give them credit for.
Sure.
Maybe smarter than we are in some ways. Um, but yeah, I got a bunch of UFO stories. I've seen them with some famous people as well, and I've seen them with law enforcement as well. So there's like some validity to it, in my opinion. But when I first saw a UFO in the sky, I was like, okay, I'm not being told everything. I felt like, and that like really opened a whole gateway of my minds, of like kind of being like, okay, politics, okay, that's cool, man. I understand your opinions on, all the big issues, but don't you think the people that are flying around our planet probably have it figured out more than we do? And there's a lot of deniers. And I've been very proactive in the UFO stuff for a long time. And then when the government started coming out and saying, no, 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 we have, you know, crafts, off-world crafts, and then, I've, I I don't I sometimes I gotta be careful what I say because I did go to military school and um, I do know some people that have are a little more advanced in knowledge than the average person. But the first time, so I can tell you the first UFO story I have if you want. Um,
Let me hear it. Let's hear it. Newport
so
Beach?
no, well, I saw him in Newport Beach. I've seen him in a bunch of different states, but this was it was actually in Wisconsin. So I used to be a truck driver, believe it or not. Yep, yep. And I
Go
was
truck,
driving down night.
go.
I was driving in '94, a beautiful fall night. And at nighttime when you're driving trucks, it's like, okay, well, you listen to tunes and then you try to find things to drive to, for me anyway. So like I found some radio tower lights and I'm like, oh, I'll drive to those radio tower lights, and then I'll find the next little, point of whatever, just to keep my mind occupied. Anyway, I all of a sudden I didn't see the radio lights. So I'm like, radio tower lights. I'm like, where'd they go? Right. So I'm looking around and I look to my right, and this is 2011, I'm pretty sure. No, this would have been 2009, excuse me. I look to my right, and it's like maybe like 400 yards off 94, and it's nighttime. There's like explosions happening in the sky, right? Like fireballs. And I'm like, what is that? And like I rolled down my windows, I couldn't hear any explosions. But it's all symmetrical, like geometric, like crazy explosion,
Just
and
not
I'm like,
random.
yeah, and
It's some sort of pattern.
I'm like, what is this happening? Like this is so unusual. So like, I call my buddy Tommy B, call him Tommy B String, and I'm like frantic. I'm like, Tommy, there's explosions in the sky. Maybe that's where the band name came from. But I was like, and he's like, Mike, are you high? And I'm like, I'm a little high. I'm a little high, but I go, but like I fucking see this. And he's like, dude, are you? And I was like trying to. This is like flip phone days, so I'm trying to like, take pictures of it. Flip phone pictures. What a waste of time that was.
What's the point?
Um, so I called 911, and I was like, hello, like calm,
Hello,
Like, look,
911.
we
How
got
are
a
ya?
high, we got a super high truck driver. So I was like, there's explosions in the sky. It makes no sense to me. And he's like, well, there's a Air Force base, about 70 miles. Oh, I told him my coordinates, right? Mile marker and stuff. He's like, well, there's an Air Force base 70 miles. I was like, and he's like, maybe they're dropping flares. And I was like, dude, it's not, it's like, no, no.
Sounds like that would be
And
maybe Camp Douglas, if that means anything to you.
yeah, that could be it. But then he goes, I will tell you this. I go, you're not the only person who's called in about these explosions in the sky. And I was like, thank you, sir. Like, thank you for validating what I'm seeing here. So that was cool. But like I said, I've seen with famous people, Thomas Pridgen, in my opinion, one of the best drummers in the world. Played with Mars Volta for a long time. Played with Snoop Dogg. Played with El Presidente, Residente, whatever it is, Latin Grammy winner. Played arenas. Um, we saw it outside of the Walnut Room
Sure.
in Denver. He's playing with his band called the oh, some sort of political name. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So I saw with him. I saw with Rowdy Shadehouse. Here's a funny little story. So like we're driving to a gig in Northern California, Mammoth Lakes, and we're driving. And I always talk about UFOs forever. Now this is like 2015, I want to say. But I was telling the boys, I was like, guys, like we're driving through like the middle of the desert. This is where we're gonna see UFOs if ever. So we're in the car and it's like no gas for 90 miles situation. So we start driving down the road and nothing's happening. And I was like, we're in a van. And so I'm in like the front bench seat. Two guys are sleeping on the back too, and then we got Perry and Stinger driving, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to bed. So the minute I put the second I put my head down, the guys go, oh, what's that? And I was like, dude, come on, you guys, you know. And then we saw these two red lights dancing in the sky, like just zipping all over the place, going all the way down, up and down, and after researching the next day, we stopped for like 20, 30 minutes. It's crazy. Found out there's a thing called the Hopi lights, Hokie lights. It's like the Indian tribe.
Sure.
I've been writing about these things for years.
This already
Um,
sounds familiar as a UFO
yeah,
enthusiast.
right. But so that was cool because they never either had seen UFOs before, so that was cool. And then in California, I mean, I remember talking to my roommate about UFOs. He's like, "Yeah, I've seen them once or twice." As we're talking about it, I had a house, fortunately, on the beach at this point, which was absolutely nuts. I think it was probably in Newport Beach, probably the lowest in, like, we're the trailer park of the beach house. And houses next to me that was like 30 million. Ours was worth like maybe like 30,000. You know what I mean? One earthquake and we're toast. But anyway, we're out there and we're talking about it. And then all of a sudden we see skimming across the water this thing that's going so fast. And like, and we're just both like, oh my God, look at that. And then the next night I'm telling the roommates about what we saw. And then we saw them shoot out of the water. And it was like red lights again. It's so
Telling you,
fast.
man.
And then that documentary was Dr. Stephen Greer, who I think is great. He had that Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind movie, and which is a great movie. I think everyone should check it out. But
Agreed.
but check this out. So I had already moved out to Newport Beach, but where was all the footage? Like half the footage from the movie is from Newport Beach, and
Right.
I was like, wow. So anyway, that's a whole nother story. But I think people are really ignorant to think that we're alone in this world because and who knows how provable this is, but they say there are more stars than grains of sand on all the beaches in the world. So I mean, we got one star here. So anyway, that's my thought for you deep thinkers out there.
Right, right. I love hearing it. I love contemplating it, and I tend to agree with you. But I have not been blessed with the UFO sighting, to my
I
to my
mean, you
knowledge.
can, yeah, well, I mean, you can, Dr. Stephen Greer does have he calls it Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind because Close Encounters of the First Kind is hearing about it. Close Encounters of the Second Kind is seeing it. Close Encounters of the Third Kind is actually seeing an actual alien. Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind is actually interacting, like you and I are talking to an alien. Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, he says, is when you meditate and you can actually summon UFOs. So he
Exactly.
teaches you how to do it. But that's it's a interest. It's a scary thing for people to think about.
It is scary. It's something almost akin to like death to cross some sort of realm like that, and
Yes,
it's kind of freaky.
it is freaky. I mean, look what happened with the War of the Worlds back in the 19 whatever's. The whole world like freaked out. It's like, oh, it was like what a cruel prank.
Uh-huh.
It's like,
It's funny looking back, but yeah, that's pretty cruel indeed.
yeah. So I mean, but I mean, like back to UFOs. Like one thing that really validated this is the last thing I'll say about it. I hope. But when I was in my band in Albuquerque, which we haven't talked about Albuquerque, I was in a band called the James Douglas Show, and we got to open for Huey Lewis, Marshall Tucker Band, Chicken Foot, when it was Chad Smith from Red Hot Chili Peppers, Joe
Hmm.
Satriani, Sammy Hagar, and Michael Anthony. Um, did a bunch of cool 38 Special, which actually we can come back to 38 Special in a second. Um, but I was late night. I was trying when you're on the road with someone and they're driving, if you can be the guy's passenger and not sleep, like your job is to like entertain the driver because
Yeah.
God bless them,
It's almost a more
and
important role than driving itself.
100%. So we're talking. I brought up aliens. I'm 21 at the time, and he's older. Marco Nunez, one of my mentors, great guy in the Albuquerque scene. If you're in Albuquerque, you know Marco Nunez and his father. I think he played with Tower Power, his dad. But anyway, he's like, "Oh, you really like UFOs?" He goes, "We're on the road for a couple of weeks here, but when we get back, my friend is having a barbecue, and her grandfather owned the Roswell property where the Roswell crash happened." And I'm like, "No shit." And so anyway, we got back and he's like, hey, we're going to that barbecue. So we get to the barbecue and there's like, 40, 50 people there, but I'm inside like, probably eating appetizers and trying to snipe a beer or something. And she walks in. I go, hey, you're the one who has grandfather owned the Roswell property, right? And she goes, yeah. And so she goes into the story about he said that he was just working on his farm, in desert or wherever one day, and this thing crashed in his property, and he's like, "What's that?" I want to drive. I was going to drive out there, so he drives out there, and she said that he said that he saw like three little people in the thing, and they were like small humans, and that like two of them looked dead, one of them was still kind of alive, and he was like, "Oh, this is kind of weird, right?"
What's that?
Yeah, yeah.
What's going on here?
So he like went back to his house and he's like, hey, 911, you should probably come out here. And then anyway, so he went back out before they showed up.
Sure.
And then he's like went over the craft and was like he didn't really know what to do. And he's like, I mean, I don't know the complete details if she told me everything, but he said that he like tried to move this thing. It was like 40 feet, to an amber. But he said it was like light, he could move the whole thing with his hand. And that, he may or may not have taken a little piece of that and found it was basically like a aluminum foil that was unbreakable and super light.
Right.
And so, but the more research I do into it, it seems like that these crafts are combine technology with consciousness. So basically you can think where you go and then you can go there. Very fascinating, but that's, like I said, we could talk for 30 million hours on this stuff, but then I read books later about the Roswell crash and it all added up to what she told me,
Right.
so very fascinating stuff. So anyway, I'm a believer. If people are like, "Are you crazy?" I'm like, you're crazy for not thinking it. So, whatever.
For at least asking the question. Got to at
Yeah,
least
yeah,
ask a
come
couple
on.
questions. Entertain the
Yeah,
notion and
yeah,
come to your own conclusions, fine. But I think it is naive to just brush it all aside as if you know
totally.
everything. I think
Right.
that's naive is an understatement.
And I might want to say something a little controversial here, but like
Let's hear it.
people are very focused on politics right now, and I think that's great. Um, but it's like, don't you think the people have been maybe around a little bit for 100, 1,000, maybe a million, maybe a billion years longer than we have, probably have it figured out more than we do. And I think if people really focused in on trying to ask them what to do instead of these talking heads, it's just so silly to me that people will base their political decisions these days on musical tastes and whatever. But I like I said, I don't vote. And to be honest, when I moved to Puerto Rico, one of the deals was I can't vote for president. So in Puerto Rico, as a resident, you cannot vote for president. So which it's kind of silly because they're American territory. But also, I
Yes, it
think
is.
side note for the people of Puerto Rico and the people who want to visit, like Hawaii, I would say Puerto Rico is like Hawaii, way less expensive and with Latin Americans instead of Pacific Islanders.
Yeah, different
So I think it's
culture.
a great place to visit if you ever get a chance. So that's my little two
Well,
cents in there.
let's get some let's get some and thank you for sharing. Let's get
Yeah,
some plugs in there. So you mentioned
yeah,
one place
plugs.
that you're playing right now down in Florida. I already forgot what it was. Danny's or something like that.
Yeah, you got Danny's Saloon.
Where can people
Uh,
come check you out if they're on vacation, they're touring
yeah,
around, what have you?
Mondays, Danny's Saloon, 7 to 10. We've been doing it now for since January. It's not going anywhere. Like I said, it's a juke joint. It's a smoky bar. If you don't like smoke, one night of smoke isn't going to kill you.
Not
Okay.
gonna kill you.
And then Tuesdays, Cigar Bar Live, downtown Fort Myers.
Mhm.
Especially after last night. I mean, that's not going anywhere. This is off season. It's a very seasonal thing here. It's kind of like the
Sure,
mountains of Colorado, snowy
sure.
season. You don't want to go play the mountains when it's not snowing. Um, God bless the people that make those drives. So it's like we
It's a
might die
rough one.
tonight. It's like I got some funny stories on that too about cars breaking down on the pass. Oh my goodness, in the middle of winter. Anyway, flashback there. And then yeah, I mean there's so many good venues here. Now musically is a very interesting part of the country. If you're a blues person, I think this is a blues capital of the nation right now. And it's growing. There's such amazing blues music here. And people say blues, blues, and they like kind of like, you know, but it's like Led Zeppelin is blues, Allman Brothers. I mean, everything is blues based, really, especially pentatonic scales and this and that. And so if you like true blues music from like Albert Collins to B.B. King to even newer stuff, Tab Noir and Kenny Wayne Shepherd was just here with Eric Gales. They get it. I mean, they're selling out theaters here, but it's really become a mecca, you know. And you know, our keyboard player from Phenomenal Animal, Chris Stevenson, phenomenal player, you know, for lack of a better word, I guess. But he was a Memphis guy for a long time, and oh, I kind of going to a side story here. So,
Let's go for it.
so Chris Stevenson and I met very cosmically, very funny. So, this guy named Willie Waldman. Willie Waldman is this trumpet player. Many have heard of him. He's a unique individual. He's, as I like to say, he's one of God's rare creations not made for mass reproduction. Um, but I could talk about Willie for a few hours, to be honest, but I'll try to shorten it up. But he was a Memphis guy, and he was like, you know, played trumpet, didn't really know what he's doing, stumbled in this place in Memphis, and where this guy named Dr. Herman Green was playing. Dr. Herman Green, huge blues guy. He played with Elvis, played with any jazz musician you've ever heard of. Like, he was a very legendary guy. I had the opportunity to actually tour with him in Colorado on mountain runs. But they used to back up Albert King and Stevie Ray Vaughan. Anyway, so fast forward a few years after all that stuff, you know, I decided I was going to live here for a while. My grandfather unfortunately had a stroke, 91 now, fully recovered, which is great.
Good to hear.
But and incredible is it just passed the year mark, which is huge after a stroke. But anyway, I put an ad on Craigslist. I'm going to be here for a while. It's time to form a band. COVID's over. And I put an ad in, and I was looking for another guitar player, bass player, drummer. And this guy named Chris Stevenson hit me up. He goes, "Hey, I'm an organ player from Memphis. I don't know if you want organ." And I was like, get out of here with your keyboard BS. You know, I don't need that, you know. And, no, but anyway, time had passed, and I ended up finding the best musicians I could locally. You know, this guy named Andrew Gromiller, who plays bass in Phenomenal Animal, and this guy named Mike Brophy, who's the drummer, who's been from St. Louis, but he's a staple guy here now. And anyway, I'm playing with the three of them for the first time, and I'm like, this is great, but man, this music could use a keyboard player. So I'm like, I'm gonna hit this guy Chris up. So I'm like, the next day, I get on Facebook or Instagram because I had his contacts, and I was like, "Hey man, I know you sent me a message a few months ago. We want to play with me sometime." Well, so then I get on Instagram. So I sent him on Facebook is what I did, and I got on Instagram 20 minutes prior to me sending this message. He's like, "Hey man, hope you're well. You know, we should jam sometime."
Nice.
And I'm like, "Wow." So find out Chris was in a band called Free World in Memphis. So if you know Memphis, you know Free World. It's a legendary, iconic band. Chris played keyboard in that band.
There you go.
And that was the same band that Willie Waldman was part of, and Dr. Herman Green started that band. So it's like it's a full circle thing. You know what I mean? So anyway, you know, that's kind of how Chris and I met, and he's just the sweetest, gentlest person ever, and really just a great singer. And there's not many organ Hammond players that can really do what he does. So, you know, I think that's what really sets Phenomenal Animal apart. Is I sing, the bass player sings, Andrew Gromiller and Chris. So people are like, "How do you guys play so often?" It's like, well, we're not blowing our voices out because we rotate every song. We rotate.
Sure.
So it's like you're always getting different music, and we focus in on a lot of funk, blues, rock, soul. Those two guys are just incredible singers. You know, I'm more of a rock singer. I'm more of a guitar player who sings. You know, and which is fine. But we do like harmonies and stuff, and we're you know we have a lot of original stuff too. But it's great. You know, like down here is really cool because you got the blues scene. But you got guys from like this guy named Bobby Caps from 38 Special lives down here. People know 38 Special and Winger, and then you got, Bob Seger lives down here, and you got a bunch of really great musicians who love down here for a lot of reasons. Probably the no tax state income tax thing, but
Doesn't
it's just a
hurt.
really, really great market for yeah, blues, but there's a lot of cover bands here too, which is fine. You got a lot of retirees and that's what they want to hear, but
Yep, yep.
I think there's a lot of
Well,
opportunity and original music is making a climb here. Jam band scene, you got a lot of deadheads. Um, so supply demand, it's like, there's a lot of opportunity here. And like the nice thing about the band so far is everyone kind of stays in their lane. And you got the people doing really good 80s stuff, really doing good uh rock stuff and all over the board. So, but really it's in my opinion, it's kind of blues capital. I
yeah.
could see it being like I don't want to like get ahead of myself here, but I could see it being like a Seattle or Memphis or Chicago, like have this period of a few years to like be like this is a spot to be for great music.
Yeah, everything's
So
got its moment in time, and there is something happening in Florida, musically and otherwise. Are you finding that down there it's kind of more that collaborative spirit that we kind of touched upon, or is it more the competitive?
that's the thing, like it's a community here. And
God, that's great to hear. I just seriously, that makes me so happy when,
I know. That's the thing. It's like I said, everyone's staying in their own lane. You know what I mean? There's plenty of work to go around at the moment. Anyway, everyone's getting paid really nice. I got a lot of compassion for the people that are working in cities that are getting, like they're getting burnt out and not getting taken care of. Like, Denver. It's like I swear that the pay has been the same in Denver for the last 15 years, probably. And it breaks my heart to see people, Matt Flaherty is a good example of a hardworking guy.
shout out to
Uh,
Matt. Love Matt.
Matt, Eric Luba is another big guy,
Likewise.
working hard. And, there's so many people I'm missing, but, those guys work their ass off. Jiho Han, good friend
Yes,
of
they do.
mine.
Brant Williams.
Uh, yeah, Brent Williams. I mean, so many good guys. And it's like, they're doing well, but it's like, um, these venues got to realize that, like, this is a full-time job. Some
Yep.
people do it as a hobby, but it's like, you got to take care of your band and stuff. And so, I got a lot of respect for those guys, and especially because you can't be doing the two-a-days like you can down here.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so hopefully the nation can kind of figure that aspect out and start getting a little more love for people. And then, like, I
Yeah.
mean, Nashville players, they don't even get a base pay, I don't think. It's all tips, right? Now, granted, they do pretty well, but that's what I've heard from people that I know that have lived out there and worked out there. It's like, oh, we don't get paid. We only get paid in tips. Now, the tip bucket can do 1,500, 2,000 in a night, but
F and A.
yeah, not bad, not bad. But it's just interesting. I'm so happy to be here. I don't see myself moving out of here anytime soon.
I'll have to come visit. In fact, yeah, once a year, maybe I get down to Key West. I don't know if you make it down that far, but into the Keys. But
Speaking of Key West, former Denver guy, I host these open jams. I learned everything I know really from Adam Lovekin, who played in a band called Kinetics,
yeah,
and
yeah,
one of the best musicians I know. God, and just a great human. But he found his place down there, and that's a hard market to get into. But I've talked to John the Green from the Green Parrot, which is a
yep,
great venue,
yes, it
and I got
is.
friends who got named Ernie. Ernie's great. Owned a thing called Space Oyster, and Ernie's father was the COO of Kmart. Now, being the CEO of Kmart, he helped start, for example, Martha Stewart's line, but also one of the biggest brands in the world, Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville.
Ah,
So Ernie was good friends with Jimmy Buffett, and Jimmy Buffett is a legend down here, especially in Key West. But
for
Ernie has
sure.
so many funny stories about hanging out with Hunter S. Thompson and Sean Penn and Jimmy Buffett and stuff down in Key West. So he's trying to help me get into that scene there. He told me a story one time about he was like cleaning his boat to get oysters, face oysters. He sourced all the oysters on the Key West area, and he's like cleaning his boat, got all his gear on. Also, he starts getting pelted with paintballs. And he's like, "What the fuck is going on here?" And then his hunter with a megaphone and a paintball gun, saying, "What are you doing to my boat?" And he's like, "Hunter, what are you doing?" So he's like, Hunter's like spray painting his boat with this, whatever. But he's like, "I got so many stories. There's a lot of stories I can't tell on the air here." But anyway, like that's a really, oh man, I tell you what, man, you know. But anyway, so there's my little Hunter S. Thompson story for everybody. And I got more of those stories too,
I
but
know you do, God damn it.
I,
You could
I
probably do
just
this for
want,
like 4 hours.
I know, but I want to show this gun guitar quick
I
because
was hoping you'd show it.
this is a one of one, and I bought it in Denver off Craigslist for $400, and I've been offered thousands for it. I don't think I'll ever sell it, but
I didn't
anyway,
realize you got
that's
it out in Denver and Craigslist, you said?
yeah. The last story before we go here, I was down here visiting family, and my buddy Charlie Worley, who played in Weezus, my first band, in
By the way,
Denver, did.
sidebar, is that still a thing in any way, shape, or form? Or are you recording or doing any of that kind of stuff?
I have old recordings that I have been editing and hope to I haven't released. You can find that on Spotify and stuff. We did a lot of good stuff with Dave Aaron, who's also part of that Memphis scene. Dave Aaron did Sublime 40 Ounces of Freedom. He was Snoop
Mhm.
Dogg's front of house guy for 30 years. Great guy. And Willie Waldman's on Herman Green's on some tracks. Um, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. This band's taken off pretty well, but if I have time to do side things, I'll probably do it under the Weezus name and figure that out. Um, but I'm down here. My buddy Charlie Worley hit me up and he's like, "Hey, look at this." And it's the Craigslist picture of this gun guitar. And I was like, "This can't be real." I didn't even respond to him. I called the number immediately and I was like, "Hey, are you the guy with the gun guitar?" And he's like, "Yes." And I go, "Take the ad off now. I'm on my way to Denver and I'm coming straight to your house from the airport. So like take it off." And he's like, "No problem." So I drove straight from the airport to like Wheat Ridge, I think. And I get there and the guy had like a nice house, and I walk in there and there's like plastic furniture, and I'm like, this guy's kind of a little tweaky, I'm like, whatever, I don't want to like make assumptions. I felt a little uncomfortable, but there was the guitar in the middle of this living room, and I was like, "That's it." He goes, "Yeah, check it out." So I played it. I was like, "It plays actually pretty good." He goes, "Yeah, I made it. I took an Epiphone SG and I kind of remodeled it. I'll give you a good trying to give you a good view of it here.
There we
But
go. Yep, yep.
you got the also got the little phenomenal animal sticker in there. Um, but but it plays pretty good, but it's a little heavy. But anyway, he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "What do you want for it?" He's like, 500. I was like, I watch Pawn Stars. I was like, "How about 400?" He's like, "Deal." And I was like, "Cool." So I was like, "All right, well, I'm playing this Friday at the Bluebird Theater, which is a great, great venue in Denver."
Shout out
And
to
I
the
was like,
Bluebird.
and I was like, "I'll give you a +1 to the gig. Come check it out. See it in person." So like he came out to see Rowdy Shadehouse.
I was gonna say which band were
and
oh God.
and I swear the my guitar tech I had at the night, he put that big dildo on the handle of the guitar. And I remember looking out in the crowd and like seeing the guy, and he was just like, oh, like he's like glitched out. And I was like, "Yeah, bro." And like, anyway, that's less I ever heard or saw from that guy. But
One
like
song in.
yeah, but bringing this through, Texas, a lot of Second Amendment supporters really love this guitar, especially. Um, and so it's been fun, man. But it's not, knock on wood. I think that hopefully this can be something that hopefully Gibson can work with me in the future to make a limited edition run of gun guitars.
There you go. I love it. I love it.
But yeah, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate you. It's always good to talk to you, buddy. And I remember seeing you. Last thing to say here. I remember seeing you with Chinese Finger Trap when I was
Sure.
19, I think, back in Wisconsin, and what a great band that was, you know.
It was certainly a fun band. I remember you saying that was the New Earth Festival, I think.
New
Was
Earth
it
Festival
in a
in
big
the
old
barn.
barn? It couldn't be any
Yeah,
more Wisconsin, in a festival that takes place in a barn. But that was a fun one. It was a fun band, and yeah, that's where we first met. And I'm glad we're able to talk all these years later.
I
And
know, it's so wonderful, man.
yeah, well, thank you
So,
for for doing this. And again, Phenomenal Animals, the band. You can
yep.
check them out down in Florida. As mentioned, we'll have some links down below. But thank you again. Thank you for doing it, man.
Thank you, man. You rock, and so does your backgrounds, you know.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, sounds good, buddy. All right, love you, buddy. I'll talk to you soon. All right.
Take care.